Okay, so today we are going to be talking about homeschool. Does homeschooling lead to educational and social struggles, or is it a sound choice for childhood education? So just starting off, some important terms. First of all, traditional schooling. This is the education that is regulated by the state. This is typically in a public or private setting with certified teachers. And then there's structured homeschooling, which is an educational approach in which learning is organized around a planned curriculum, regular lessons, and measurable objectives. And this is led by parents in the home. Individualized instruction, tailoring education to fit each student's pace, strengths, and interests. So many homeschool programs aim for this individualized instruction. And then socialization is the process in which children learn social norms, values, behaviors, and communication skills, friendship, and emotional well-being. So kind of to introduce some of the stats of homeschooling. So according to the 2022 to 2023 National Household Education Survey, about 3.4% of K through 12 students in the United States were homeschooled. And then comparing this to 2018 to 2019, the rate was about 2.8%. So there has been a steady increase since that time to the present. So why this is important? So alongside the increase in numbers and legitimation, scholarly interest in homeschooling has been increasing, and numerous studies of the practice have been conducted in recent decades. So then there are many reasons why parents might decide to homeschool. According to this same survey, that was a check, all that apply. Concern about school environment. So this is safety, peers, etc. in the traditional schooling was about 83% of homeschooling parents. And then the second most common reason why parents decided to homeschool was the dissatisfaction with academic instruction. So many also selected this as well, about 72%. And then among the other reasons were the desire to emphasize family life together, moral religious instruction, and non-traditional approach. These were also frequent in the study. And then just a bar graph to show the frequency of why parents decided to homeschool. So to kind of dive in more into what traditional schooling is versus homeschooling, what some points some parents might consider is that traditional schooling provides structured learning environment, access to qualified teachers, curriculum standards, government funding and resources, socialization opportunities, diverse perspectives, extracurricular activities, support systems and group dynamics, sense of community and belonging, exposure to social norms. On the other hand of this, there's the homeschooling that could offer individualized and experimental learning opportunities, strong family ties, a safe learning environment, custom socialization, reduced academic stress and competition, practical life skills, personalized emotional support, flexibility in schedule and routine, reduced exposure to negative behaviors, and parental oversight. But what does the research actually say? Most research is focused on more of the academic outcomes and the socialization outcomes of children who are homeschooled. So kind of first look at some of the negative sides to homeschooling in academics is that this one study compared standardized scores of children in structured homeschooling, unstructured homeschooling, and traditionally schooled students, and indicated that the unstructured homeschoolers are achieving the lowest standardized scores across the three groups. So this is showing a very negative outcome that can come from those homeschoolers that have an unstructured program, which is not lesson planned. Maybe there's not a strict schedule, and that shows to have negative outcomes. And then homeschoolers were twice as likely to report being behind expected grade level compared to reference group. So this study aimed to see what are some of those risk factors of students being behind their grade level, and homeschooling was one. And then kind of on the social side of things, one study interviewed homeschooled students and found that they perceive themselves to be less social than their traditionally schooled peers. because they did not have a large number of people to communicate with on a daily basis. So from that, the analysis of the interviews indicated that the adolescents thought their peers who attended school were better prepared in terms of social aspects compared to those who were homeschooled because they spent more time at school and acquired more social skills. So from this, there could be negative outcomes regarding socialization if students are homeschooled. On the other side of the research, there's also positive academic outcomes that researchers have found. So, in one of those same studies, the structured homeschooled children actually achieved higher standardized scores compared with children attending public school. So, within that structured homeschool, with those lesson plans, curriculum, the parents' commitment, there's actually higher scoring. And then one advantage researchers reported to be a reason for higher academic achievement was the individualized knowledge reportedly enabled them, the parents, to access their child's academic strengths and weaknesses, kind of go at their own pace and work on the weaknesses and build on the strengths. And then in another study, homeschool students were found that they possessed higher ACT scores, grade point averages, and graduation rates when compared to traditionally educated students. And then there's kind of more of the research, more sides of it. So structured homeschooling has been found to be associated with positive academic outcomes, primarily in verbal skills. And then being involved with their child when problem solving, learning new concepts, drew a parent-child connection closer. So those relationships, those family ties became stronger through homeschooling versus the traditionally schooled children. And then a really important point from this research is that that structured homeschooled students or like the parents that have access to their resources have much better outcomes. So this study found that achievement levels of homeschool students were largely dependent on the amount of money spent on educational materials and how structured that was, and that kind of all goes into that. And then in homeschooling, it's really personal, as though each child gets what he needs using the method of teaching that suits them most. And then on the social part of things, participation in standard extracurricular activities appeared to give many homeschooled children exposure to mainstream social experiences. For some, homeschooling created opportunities for multicultural social experiences. So just, instead of just interacting with their peers who are of their same age in traditionally schooled programs, homeschoolers found that they had more diverse social experiences. So in my opinion, I think yes, homeschool can absolutely be a sound choice for education if parents are committed, have the necessary resources, and it's properly structured. And then socialization can also be very positive if parents are intentional about the experiences children are exposed to. And then other benefits include those close family ties, a safe learning environment, and a personalized education. So I think those factors are super important to consider when choosing to put your child in traditionally school programs or homeschool, is that it really depends on the quality of the homeschooling. So just kind of to wrap it up, the key points from the research is overwhelmingly research points to that intentional, committed, and structured homeschooling can absolutely be a sound choice and even advantageous for academics compared to traditional schooling. Socialization outcomes can also be very positive for homeschooled children if given the opportunities to diversify their interactions. Most negatives of homeschool come from homeschoolers' personal views of themselves. And then there's many factors to consider beyond academic achievement or socialization that homeschooling can be negative or positive. And then these are the resources.